me a second. Let's see this. All right. Give me a second. Invite Discord, guys, and then we can start. And let's start. Welcome to Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel. My name is Vlad Karpel. I'm CEO and founder of both companies. And today we're going to have a live trading room open to trade stock and options using our technology. For those of you who are new, welcome. This is my brief bio. If you like the content, please hit the like button. So welcome on YouTube as well. Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel and other companies is that we are primarily a technology company. We do have strong team of financial engineers that are building models, providing signals, and I use these signals in the live trading room to manage my own money. So that's kind of one of the main differences. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I encourage you to visit optionsscreening.com so you can understand the risk associated with trading stock or options. All right, so very important. We always talk about trading plan. It's important to have a trading plan. We do on Tradespoon side and Yellow side, Tunnel side. We do have sample trading plan. There's no such thing as universal trading plan. You have to adjust, right, your trading plan. But the main focus of the trading plan is that you have a process, right? Well-documented process, repeatable process that you can give to someone else and they can repeat the same trades, right? The same idea. First two rules are cash and portfolio drawdown. I propose to have 30% of your portfolio in cash and have the same portfolio drawdown. What is the portfolio drawdown? That's number of positions you have. I propose to have 4 positions, especially if you're new to trading, and not to risk more than 2.5% of account value per position. This way, your maximum drawdown is 10%. Probably on the conservative side, right? Managers, they'll give you a number between 12 and 20%, right? But in the beginning, you just want 4 positions, 2.5%. Market could continue to rally, great. Market could pull back, 5 to 10%. You don't want to risk more than 10%. A few other checklists, long and short the market at the same time. Right, market is overbought. We do have NVIDIA earnings, right? Expectation that they're gonna deliver on their earnings, guide higher, maybe even move, push the market higher. That's the expectation, but there's always negative surprises. And if there's a negative surprise, that could set the tone, at least short term, for a market to pull back. So you wanna be able to trade spreads, right? One way to hedge your portfolio, or if you're trading stocks, you could have, one of the positions short, right? SH, PSQ. So a lot more time, right? Right now, the goal is to start closing June position, and if you still want to keep them, you can roll them into July. Do not sell naked options. Strike price selection is important if you're doing options trading. Strike price selection is important if you're doing stock trading. Positioning in general, strike price with high open interest determine positioning, support and resistance levels. So very important part of the trading plan and your journal. So I encourage everybody to keep a journal, and in that journal, write down every single trade, why you got into a trade, what is your target gain, what is your stop loss. Have a checklist, right? Is it liquid? Is it trading? Is the stock or option trades in pennies? Or is it a liquid? Is it a meme stock, right? Maybe you don't want to trade GameStop because it's too volatile. So something along those lines. Those are important part. And we do have one-on-one coaching program where you can get custom kind of approach for which I encourage you to consider. Stock forecast. So in terms of support and resistance, 2.5%. Let's look at stock forecast toolbox first. Support is at 530, overhead resistance at 537, going into the NVIDIA earnings, still strong uptrend. So that's what the model sees. So I agree with the model. I think we are in uptrend. Obviously, NVIDIA could change that trend, but it's, at least going into the event, this is the expectation, and this is the current trend. I did go through some, let's review some of the earnings. I didn't do it in the Tradespoon or Yellow Tunnel count, but if you were at the closing bell, percent, target is down 10%, TGX is up 3%. So if you did any of these trades yesterday that I talked about, the only thing that I see coming close is ADI, right? We were talking about ADI, a butterfly, right? Butterfly and ADI. So if you did 225, 230, 235 call, right? We talked about ADI in terms of positioning of ADI. The highest open interest is 227 to 30, right? 227.5 to 30, and this is where the stock is gravitating right now, right? So if you did 225 to 30 to 35 calls per butterfly, then that would be a profitable trade. So let's see, I'm gonna try to close it. So that's one trade, right? So where open interest is important, right? You have positive surprise, it's gravitating toward the strike price with highest interest, right? It does have a call skew, put skew, right, above 0.5. So most likely it's not going to go outside of the 230. It will stay in that range. And ADI already pre-market was at 232, and now it's at 229. So that's ADI. And then let's see, the other one that's moving close is target, right? So this is how the ADI looks. And this was the highest open interest, and this is how target looks. Put skew in July, there is some selling of the puts and buying of the calls, not a lot. But front months and weekly trade, it's all well positioned. So it has a negative surprise, and it's trading at 140 right now. And guess what? This is where the highest interest is, right? So if you did the butterfly, right? If you did the put butterfly, it would be the same thing, right? You have, what do I have? A 136 put, 136 put. So 136 put, we're, right now target is at 140, but it could gravitate close. So we have to watch the target. So positioning is important, even if you're not an option trader, right? Let's actually, that's fine. So for today, basically, not a lot of positioning, right? I don't expect. So this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So in terms of positioning, 525, right? So I would assume that 525 will hold, right? At least short term. It's not a huge position, but we do have 525. So if NVIDIA disappoints, we do have positioning at 525. June. Yeah, there's nothing more. So 525 on the upside, not as much position. 536. a lot less positioning, so easier to break through. But that would be your level of support, 525 and 536. So I agree with the market model, right? If you're doing short-term trading, I would use 525 as your stop level. The gap, right? So 525 is your gap. I mean, 528 is the first level of support, but more likely 525, especially for tomorrow. So that's your support number one. Support number two would be probably somewhere at this level, 518. Support number two. But as long as we have not closed this gap, it's still short-term, very bullish uptrend. But again, tomorrow will probably either be at 525 or at 536, right? On S&P, based on NVIDIA earnings. It's a pretty influential stock. So based on, if you're doing day trading, I would use 1% stop loss. That's reasonable, right? Because VIX is at 12. So it's reasonable to assume only 1% move in most of the S&P 500 stocks. And then below that, I would use, 2%, right? 2%. Maybe 520, 520. So you're risking either 5 points to the downside or 10 points to the downside, and then on the $10,000 account, $250, right? So I would just use, if you have $10,000, my goal now would not be to risk more than $250. $250 divided by 5 is 50 shares, divided by 10 is 25 shares. Any questions? ADI is up 4%. Let's look at ADI. I don't know if you guys have. So much in ADI. PDD up 2%, Urban down 3%. Let's see, target is at 142. And in terms of short-term trading, I'm not sure if you want to put new positions, right? I would be careful about new positions going into NVIDIA earnings, right? Unless you're doing short-term trading and you're planning to close it today, right? Then, but in terms of active trader, let's see what we have. Goldman Sachs, I already have Goldman Sachs position. Bank of America, I have banks and semiconductors, MCHP. So I already have Texas Instrument. I have Bank of America. I have Goldman Sachs, so I would basically, personally just wait, right? But if you don't have, let's say, exposure to banks or financials, then, maybe consider Goldman Sachs, right? That would be my thought process. I don't know if you guys have any questions. All right, so let's look at ADI. So ADI continues to go higher. We have 2 minutes. All right, any questions? John, good morning. The next book. So let's look at NVIDIA. So it does look like a double, triple top. All right, so we've been at this level 3 times. Once in beginning of the March, once end of the March, and then towards the end of the May. So expectations are high. You do have a vertical move since October of 22. It was just kind of one-way trade. It was small pullbacks, consolidation. So, I mean, nobody knows, right? Most people, I think, including myself, think that NVIDIA will deliver on the bottom line, top line. They'll probably guide higher. The question is it enough to break out, right? Is it enough to break out? That is the question. So if there's anything negative, most likely it will pull back to the neck line, right? 800, 820. We've seen the positioning. Let's see. Carol, am I planning to do earnings on NVIDIA? Yes. Not in the Tradespoon or Yellow Tunnel account because it's just very expensive, right? And NVIDIA is a large account. I would not do it. Since majority of the people have smaller account, I would not. But we can go over, right? So in terms of positioning on NVIDIA, if you do have a large account, we did have, I assume the position hasn't changed much since yesterday, but let's look. Okay, while it's loading, let's look at, I think, Texas Instrument. I'm not sure if I want to hold it. Oh, I think I got filled on Texas Instrument. Oh yeah, Texas Instruments, I'm out. Okay. So Texas Instruments, I'm out. Let's see NVIDIA. Did it load? So while it's loading, Texas Instrument did get filled this morning at May 21. Let's see. Yeah. So I did get filled in 201. So $4. That's $187 to $183. So it's about 1.5%, right? About 1.5% profit overnight. So that's good, right? That's if you're trading options, you would have different calculation. But I'm out of Texas Instruments. I did trim Goldman Sachs yesterday. At 470.80. So I do have half of the position remaining in Goldman Sachs. Those are the most recent trades. I don't know why it's not loading. Well, I know why. Maybe a lot of people are using it. But anyway, let's look. NVIDIA, well, we can look at the just open position. Chain, NVIDIA, high open interest, right? So I'm looking at high open interest for this week going into expiration. So you see small open interest here, but you have 1,000, 2,000, 950, 14,000, and 1,000 is 17,000, right? So 950, 1,000 is 50 points, right? It's 5% to the upside. That's where the largest position is. Implied volatility based on open interest, you see 40 times 4, 160. Right, at the money straddle one. Right, so we're trading at 294. So 40 plus 40, right? And then the strangle, 40 plus. So a little bit less than 160. 160, this is 15%, right? So implied volatility, 2 standard deviation is 15%. And you do see people 150 points, that would be what? 1,100 strike. So 1,100 strike is also has a very large interest, right? So you have a lot of people think it's going to be 1 standard deviation move. You have a lot of people think that it's going to be 2 standard deviation move. And the volatility, the vol skew, if this ever loads, is going to put that this is still a call skew. So demand for the long calls, short puts outpaces, demand for hedges, right? Short calls and long stock. So most people are bullish on NVIDIA, and it will probably move either 1 or 2 standard deviation, right? It will probably get close to 1,000, which would be all-time high. Or if it's really good earnings, if the reaction is similar to last year, So that would be the expectation for NVIDIA. So that I would do butterflies, right? I would do butterfly on the call side and on the put side, right? Because the question is, do you want to be long volatility or do you want to be short volatility, right? Do you want to sell the volatility or do you want to buy the volatility? And I think the answer is you want to probably buy volatility instead. Oh my God. Right, you want to buy volatility. I'm sorry, NVIDIA is not loading. So, but we looked at it yesterday, and that would be the answer. All right. Meanwhile, ADI continues to grind higher. Let me know if you have any other questions, and then we can go over the rest of the positions. Oh, sign in front of the NVIDIA. Sorry, that could be an issue, right? So you used to put this. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Carol. So yeah, so NVIDIA, you can see the biggest strike short term is at 1,000. You have 1,000 is 5%. One standard deviation is about $750. So more likely 1050, right? So those are the three outcomes. We're at all-time high. It's not going to break. All-time move would be 1050, and two standard deviation move would be around 1100, right? So two standard deviation 1100, one standard deviation about 1025. But these are where most people are positioned. So I think it's going to gravitate toward these strikes, right? Maybe 1,000. So you can do 950, 1,000, 1050 strike, or you can buy 1,000, one contract 1,000, sell two 1050, and buy one 1,100, right? And depending on how much you're willing to risk, that the width of the distance between the long and short leg could be different, right? And butterfly, the idea is that if you, let's say, select this to be, the maximum profit is going to be at the strike you select, right? So if this is your butterfly, if it's less than 1,000, then you're going to just lose the premium that you paid for that debit. You're going to lose premium. You're going to just lose the debit that you paid. But if it gravitates toward the middle and stays here, that's where you maximum profit. So let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, so I would buy 2 butterflies, right? Because you could have positive surprise, you could have negative surprise. Yes, so I would buy 2 butterflies. Okay, my personal account, that's what I'm going to do. I'll do it close over the closing of the session, right? But you can see in terms of put buying, there's not much put buying, and mostly is put selling, right? So people basically cycling on that, you will gravitate toward, you know, the highest open interest right now, it's at 880. So 60 points to the downside. Yeah, so butterfly is you buy 2, right? Let's look at butterfly again. Butterfly profit and loss image. Right, so I would sell 2, right? If it's, let's say, call, right? Or let's say this is 1050. I would sell 2 1050, buy 1 1,000, and buy 1 1100. Make it equidistant, right? So 1050, 1100, 1150. Right, then you have basically a 10% range where, as long as it trades in that range, you know, you will, you know, you can make money. Let me know if it makes sense. All right, Discord guys, do you have any questions on Discord? Russell, welcome back. Cherry Blossom. All right, let's review the TGX is up 6%, Target is down 8%, Urban turned negative, Outfitters, and PDD up 4%. All right, let's review the rest of the positions. Going into the event, right? Going to NVIDIA earnings, you want to make sure that you have proper exposure, right? And still want to hold these positions. Amazon, right? So let's look at Amazon first. So it looks like it found the support around 50-day moving average, right? It's bouncing back today. It's still one of the better performing Magnificent 7 stocks, right? So Amazon, NVIDIA kind of both look very similar price patterns. Still bullish on FXI. FXI continues to go higher. We did have a short-term pullback in Chinese stocks. Makes sense. It needs to consolidate. It's kind of a vertical move to the upside. But I still think in terms of trend, there's more room to the upside in Chinese stocks. Let me see PDD reaction, and earnings is positive. So we did break through this downtrend, right? Multi-year downtrend. It has to clear the 30 level. Probably spend some time consolidating between 27 and 30 level, right? Which is healthy. It makes sense. So for now, I did trim small position FXI, still long FXI. GameStop, that will expire worthless. We talked about that several times. Goldman Sachs, I did trim half of the position, so I'm going to keep the second half of Goldman Sachs position. KRE, very sensitive to interest rates, right? Regional banks are very sensitive to interest rates. It did break out through this multi-months, right? You have to go back to January of this year to see KRE at this level. So it's consolidating. It also makes sense because interest rates are consolidating, right? The 10-year yield significantly dropped to 430 level, very important support, right? You have to go back to October of 22 to find support for 4.30. So it's a big key support, right? As long as we're above 430, market is going to consolidate. But if we drop below 430, that's, I think, would be the sign for the next leg up in the market. So that's regional banks. We talked about Macy's 2016. So Macy's are actually continue to grind higher. Stop on. So I'm aiming for 20. I have a 22 strike. So it has to move another 10% up. So I'm still keeping this credit call spread, right? This is part of the iron condor, 22 and 24 call spread. Regional financials, also consolidating with KRE. This is the key support level. It's still sitting above that key support level. Silver is in strong uptrend, right? It kind of continues to move higher. It broke through the 2021 high, right? So it's broke through consolidating, but I trimmed the silver position, still long silver. Wells Fargo, let's see. Continues to grind higher. I have 57.5, 62.5. It's in the money. So I'm going to put an order to close at 420. Let's see, close at 420. Any questions? And then finally, XLE. So I'm still long XLE. It's consolidated. It is sitting at this key support level, right? Kind of trying to retest. Let's look at the crude oil. Bitcoin pulling back after retesting all-time highs, and crude oil continues to kind of consolidate for the past 4 weeks around this 78, 80 level. I think it will hold, but for now it's still kind of flatline, excuse me. Any questions? Ernest, Cecile, Han, Ian, John, Kirill, Elite, Mahfouz, Mario, Mark, Maurice, Raymond, Ted, Thomas, Sidar, Bill. Thank you. But meanwhile, 10-year yield kind of continues to grind higher. Right, so we're at 446. And it's still below 450. That's kind of the breakdown after the CPI data. So as long as we are below these, this broken uptrend on this line, it's still bullish. But it's off the lows, right? It was 430, now 445. Let's see what else is interesting. Spiders are flat. QQQ is flat. Semiconductors are up 70 basis points. Close to session high. Gold miners are pulling back. Silver is pulling back today. Let's see what else. What are the other news? Any questions? In terms of position, recent trades. So we talked about retail, TJX, Target, Urban Outfitters. Existing home sales came out just recently. Oil inventory numbers are coming out in half an hour, so it probably will affect. And then we do have Fed meeting minutes, right? So Wednesday, so we do have That median minutes. That could cause short-term volatility in the market, right? That could cause short-term volatility in the market, so I would be careful. Again, just make sure you review your positions, and especially if you're new to trading, I would say 4 positions and your stop levels at 2.5% per position, right? If you have 4 bullish positions. Lululemon is down 4%. UK CPI came in a little bit harder than expected, right? Months over months, year over year, slightly harder than expected. Okay, so inflation is back kind of at the forefront of the discussions. So existing home sales came in weaker than expected. See how's the home builders reacting to this. Yeah, so home builders are pulling back after the existing home sales. Yeah, I don't see any other big moving news. Okay. And we are approaching summer, right? So sell in May, go away. Doesn't always work, right? It didn't work last year. So expectation that it might not be, but the volume probably will start dropping as we approach in summer. Ian, Monday is the holiday, right? So just holiday. So Memorial Day is May 27th. So we're off on Monday. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you, Ian. All right, so let's see what else is interesting. So ADI is pulling back. All right, so ADI continues to trade at 230. So we do have materials pulling back to 50-day moving average today. Home builders pulling back to 50-day moving average. Metals and miners are pulling back after strong rally. China consolidating. Industrials are flat, right? They're facing all-time high. They didn't really go anywhere since March. The industrials, let's see. Talked about dollar rebounding. Let's see. Retail sector continues to struggle, sitting at this important support, 75. Transportation sector has been weak, right? That usually a leading indicator. It actually has been underperforming. Transportation has been underperforming, below 50-day moving average, 200-day moving average. Telecommunication has been weak, below 200-day moving average. We talked about QQQ, semiconductors. Dow Jones is at all-time high. Spiders flat. Banks are continue to retest all-time highs. Caps are underperforming, right? You have this triple top, I guess. We've been fighting for this 210 level several times. Energy is down 2%. All right, so crude numbers, I guess, came in worse than expected. XLE did pull back 2%. So it looks like silver is pulling back today. XLE is pulling back today. Regional financials are fighting for the support. Microsoft is up, right? We talked about Microsoft actually did get to the 430, 431 level. And then ADI. All right, 912. Any questions? Would you do NVIDIA strangle? Cecile, I would not do NVIDIA strangle because that, you need the stock to move beyond, one standard deviation. So right now, I would not do a strangle because I expect the move higher, but not, 2 standard deviations. Right? You spend a lot less money on butterfly than on strangle, long strangle, I assume. Pat, aggressive power trader, positions page, sure. So you can go to aggressive power trader. And if I did trade any of these positions, right, you would, so you do have positions and orders. And then you do have live trading on recordings, right? So if I traded any of these positions, yeah, you can enter a SMS setting, and then you would see the orders and positions. Thank you, Pat. All right, guys, thank you very much. At the closing bell, and all eyes are on NVIDIA earnings. But we can talk about more about other earnings at the closing bell. Thank you very much.